The Minnesota Twins signed free agent starting pitcher Dylan Bundy to a one-year deal that guarantees him $5 million. As you see there, the details of the contract from John Heyman. And I think that's pretty much the most attractive thing about this signing is the details of the contract, a very modest guarantee for a starting pitcher. And, to be honest, although the option for $11 million is quite a bit more than his 2022 salary, that's very modest for a starting pitcher as well. Now, once we get into sort of the details of who Dylan Bundy is, I think he's fine, because on one hand, the Twins need a lot of pitching, a lot of starting pitching in particular, and Dylan Bundy certainly is a starting pitcher. And he's younger than the guys they went after last year. He's one of the younger free agents in this class, actually 29 years old, so he's got some upside in regard to that. But, not a guy who pitched well last year at all. Pitched well in 2020, but that was a shortened season. Let's hear from Derek
He's a guy
Falvey.
who we liked a number of years ago, tried to acquire via trade, even back in his Baltimore days. He dealt with some injuries toward the end of this year, which I think caught up to him a little bit. But we feel like with a full offseason and a good plan going into next spring training, this is a guy we think has real bounce back ability. And we just think there's really, again, a little bit untapped potential there that we can hopefully get into this year with a normal spring training, normal offseason. But the slider, the pitches he has and the characteristics they have, we think will play pretty well if he's back to full health.
Bundy was one of the best high school pitching prospects ever considered to be at the time of being drafted number 4 overall by Baltimore. He was throwing 98, 97 in the minors, but after Tommy John, he came back throwing 94, and these days he's only throwing about 90, 91 usually. On good days, he's 92, 94. And let's take a look at his baseball savant slider see the past 2 years. And you see the fastball velocity between 2020 and 2021 were similar. So it's not good, but it's not like that's what hinged on his success in 2020. You can see it was just pitching. This guy, credit to him. Again, he was one of the biggest prospects at the time, throwing, again, 98, 97, and he's learned to pitch at 90, 91. That's not easy. A lot of guys can't do that. Thinking about former Twins prospects, Tyler J wasn't able to navigate that. So credit to him to learn how to manipulate the baseball a bit more to get major league hitters out. And at the top of the screen here, you see Bundy's numbers, some of the numbers compared to Michael Pineda the past 3 seasons. So keep in mind, this is, including his poor year last year and his excellent 2020. And, some of these numbers are similar. Strikeout to walk ratio, very similar. We look at the xFIP, the Sierra, the WAR, very similar. Now, the ERA is a whole run difference. So that's you wouldn't usually put these two guys together, but I would prefer Pineda, definitely. And I'm only throwing him out there because he's a guy we're familiar with, Michael Pineda, as opposed to Dylan Bundy. I would prefer Pineda, but again, Bundy, I do feel like is sort of in that same range, so he's fine. That's really the most optimism I can give. And, the Twins are definitely going to have to aim higher. They're going to have to acquire some more starting pitching, and these are the best remaining free agents now that we're into the lockout mode. These guys will be sort of the remaining guys once we get out of the lockout, whenever that is. And then also the trade market hasn't developed with all these free agents. Of course, teams looking to dangle pieces out weren't going to really be active in the trade market when there's so many free agent options available. The trade value really increases as the market thins out. So I think that's the unfortunate thing about the timing of this, that Bundy was the only player the Twins signed before the lockout, and we're not hoping that he's the best pitcher they get. So now we're sort of frozen in this time period of, I get why people are a little frustrated and not real, I'm not very excited or optimistic about Bundy either. But again, I think it's a fine signing. It's fine.